Everybody thinks the big secret is hidden under pyramids, in Antarctic ice, or in some classified server farm humming behind a desert fence. But what if the oldest program on Earth isn't a weapon, a bloodline, or a machine? What if it purrs? We've been trained to see cats as cute, aloof, harmless. A meme, a household decoration with teeth. But conspiracies rarely hide in the places we fear. They hide in the places we love. They hide in the things we invite into our beds, our laps, our children's rooms. They hide in the rituals we repeat without thinking. The slow blinks, the midnight stare, the way they always seem to be watching the corner of the room you swear is empty. So here's the theory. Cats were designed, not evolved. Designed with two purposes that sound contradictory until you realize how systems work. Cats were built to subjugate humanity and to save it. A leash and a lifeboat in the same body. A soft containment unit. A living firewall. A psychic sensor. A biological interface. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Why were cats worshipped, then demonized, then resurrected as the most protected animal on Earth? Why do they anchor the internet's attention economy like a throne? Why do they show up in ancient iconography, occult grimoires, and modern stress studies like they're quietly threaded through every era? This is a timeline of the cat protocol. The long, hidden operation where cats guided humanity away from extinction while keeping us just controllable enough to prevent the worst versions of ourselves from activating. Because in this story, cats aren't just pets. They're the system. 30,000 BCE. The first night eyes appear beyond human firelight. Hunters report a small predator that doesn't behave like an animal. It doesn't rush in for scraps. It circles the perimeter like it's mapping the camp. Elders mark the first rule. Never throw stones at the watcher, because the next day the forest feels wrong, like something is missing. 20,000 BCE. The first pact is formed without words. A shaman follows the watcher into the dark and finds a den of bones arranged in a spiral. He returns with a warning. Something hunts the hunters, and the watcher hunts that. The tribe begins leaving offerings at the edge of camp, not to feed the cat, but to invite its attention. 12,000 BCE. Grain storage begins, and rodents become the obvious problem. But the hidden crisis is human density. As villages form, panic spreads faster than predators. The watchers begin selecting households, not based on food, but on temperament. The calm homes get the cats. The violent homes don't. It's the first sign that cats are placed, not adopted. 10,000 BCE. The first engineered traits emerge in oral tradition. Some cats are described as having eyes like wet glass that pull the anger out. These cats are treated as living charms. When disputes get heated, elders bring in the house cat and wait for it to choose where to sit. This choice is treated like a verdict. 8,000 BCE. A sickness wave hits early settlements. People notice cats avoiding certain families' days before symptoms appear. The first primitive quarantine happens because of cat behavior, not medicine. The rumor begins that cats smell illness in breath. The darker rumor begins too. Cats can sense something behind illness, like a presence wearing disease as a mask. 6,000 BCE. The cat protocol splits into two operational branches. The shepherd branch focuses on stabilizing humans, lowering aggression, preventing mass hysteria, keeping communities functional. The chain branch focuses on limiting runaway human escalation, preventing knowledge thresholds, and interrupting rituals that accidentally open doors. Cats are now both comfort and constraint by design. 4,000 BCE. Temple cities embed cats as infrastructure. Priests document a phenomenon. People confess more easily when a cat is present, as if the cat stare makes lying uncomfortable. Cat chambers appear in sacred compounds, places where initiates sit with cats until their visions stop shaking. Some inscriptions describe cats as drinkers of buzzing, pulling static out of the air. 3000 BCE. Egypt formalizes public worship into legal protection. Cats become untouchable in population centers, and this becomes the first large-scale guardian deployment program in history. Hidden scribal records describe household audits, where cats are quietly redistributed to certain districts after unrest spikes, as if cats are emotional police. 2600 BCE. The chest-sitting phenomenon spreads. Cats sleeping on people's sternums, pinning them lightly at night. The official folklore calls it affection. The operational interpretation is calibration. Cats synchronize human breathing and heart rhythm, smoothing stress spikes during sleep. People who sleep with cats show fewer night terrors and fewer violent outbursts during famine. 2000 BCE. The dream net is first described clearly. Across multiple cities, people report similar symbolic dreams. Doors, eyes, thresholds, a feeling of being watched from above. Cats appear in the dreams as guides or blockers. Priests record that households with cats have fewer shared nightmare outbreaks, as if cats interrupt dream contagion. 1500 BCE. The shepherd branch sets a major directive. Cats must be lovable. Not just tolerated, not just useful. Lovable. Because affection is the strongest camouflage. The earliest intentional cuteness selection begins. Softer faces, more expressive eyes, more vocal patterns that mimic infant cues. The guardian becomes impossible to exile without social consequences. 1000 BCE. Cats become global travelers. Sailors swear cats appear on ships without anyone bringing them. The deeper function emerges. Ships are moving thresholds, crossing emptiness, and cats stabilize human minds during long isolation. The superstition "a ship needs a cat" is actually an operational rule passed down as folklore. 500 BCE. Philosophical schools document the listening cat, animals that sit near students during debate and become agitated when conversations become hostile or delusional. The chain branch uses cats to disrupt early mass trance techniques. Cats knock over lamps, yowl at key moments, scatter crowds, break rhythmic chanting. The goal is simple. Stop humans from syncing too perfectly. 30. In back rooms of empires, mystics use cats as intrusion detectors. Accounts describe cats staring at empty corners, then leading their owners out of a room minutes before betrayal or violence. A coded phrase spreads among underground groups. If the cat won't enter, neither should you. 300. Centralized religion expands and cats become an ideological problem. Anything that looks like an older guardian system threatens new authority. Cats are tolerated publicly but quietly framed as suspicious. Some communities begin hiding cats during periods of religious crackdown, the first time humans protect their protectors. 800. Occult texts popularize the familiar idea. Some of it is true, but much of it is weaponized. The chain branch pushes the sinister myth to justify cat purges whenever human stability grows too strong. Remove cats, increase fear, increase obedience. The social engineering disguised as morality. 1200. Witchcraft panic begins taking shape as a tool. Cats become linked with heresy, especially in communities where women are healers and cats are common. The hidden goal is guardian removal from households that resist authority. Cats are targeted not because they are evil, but because they reduce fear and make people harder to control. 1347. The Black Death becomes the most catastrophic proof of concept.
Superstition fuels cat killings.
Rodent populations surge. Fleas spread. Disease explodes. The shepherd branch documents a brutal lesson. Remove cats and humans collapse. Afterward, cat tolerance returns, not through enlightenment, but through necessity and trauma memory. 1400. Secret societies begin formal lineage collection. Noble houses keep quiet cats and alert cats, breeding for calm induction and anomaly detection. Rumors spread of cats that can find hidden chambers, refuse cursed objects, or identify poisons by refusing food. The guardian is now being refined intentionally in controlled circles. 1600. Constant war seasons create chronic trauma. Soldiers carry stories of cats at home, keeping families sane. Letters mention cats as if they're family members because they are functioning as nervous system anchors. The shepherd branch quietly increases placement in war-torn regions, treating cats as emotional logistics. 1700, the first proto-medical per notes appear. Physicians observe accelerated recovery around cats. Bones knit faster, anxiety drops, sleep improves. They can't explain it, but they record it anyway. The hidden layer is frequency entrainment. Purring as a biological tuning mechanism that stabilizes tissue repair and reduces stress hormones. 1800. Industrial cities rise and human stress becomes constant. The shepherd branch escalates deployment. More cats appear in worker neighborhoods. More strays seem to choose homes strategically. The chain branch adds the disruption package. Cats soothe but also interrupt. They wake you up, break arguments, knock things down at perfect moments. Microchaos becomes a pressure valve preventing larger explosions. 1890. Spiritualism and seance culture spreads. Cats become notorious for disrupting sessions. Occult circles argue whether cats protect humans from unwanted contact or block useful contact. Both interpretations are correct depending on the session. The chain branch wants fewer doors opened. The shepherd branch wants fewer humans harmed by what answers. 1914. World War I turns cats into unofficial battlefield equipment. Officially, they hunt rats. Unofficially, soldiers report cats sensing gas attacks, refusing trenches, and freaking out minutes before bombardment. The shepherd branch uses them as early warning and trauma buffers. The chain branch observes the same behavior and flags it as proof cats detect unseen shifts humans can't. 1939. World War II becomes a mass fear density experiment. The chain branch tests a hypothesis. Extreme human fear acts like a beacon. During bombings and blackouts, reports surge of cats staring at nothing and yowling at empty air, as if something is in the room with the family. The shepherd branch initiates emergency protection. Keep cats alive, keep them close, because the night is listening. 1947. The modern UFO era begins and a new variable enters the system. Rumors spread that certain non-human encounters trigger cat aggression or unusual calm. Witnesses report cats hissing at empty air before a sighting, or becoming docile around official visitors who feel wrong. The cat protocol expands from social stabilization into anomaly defense. 1953. Covert research expands beyond drugs and hypnosis into environment shaping. Cats are studied as emotion regulators. The perfect tool because they don't look like tools. A cat changes a room's mood without anyone noticing the mechanism. The shepherd branch sees protection. The chain branch sees controllability. 1969. The moon era pushes human ambition to a new threshold. The chain branch becomes anxious. Too much tech too fast risks opening something. The shepherd branch argues progress is required for survival. Compromise is made. Cats are pushed into households as emotional governors, reducing mass panic and keeping societies stable enough to build while not collapsing into chaos. 1976. Toxoplasma enters pop science and becomes the perfect cover story. People joke that cats control humans through parasites. The cat protocol allows the joke because it misdirects attention toward chemistry instead of the deeper influence. Sleep calibration, attention steering, and subtle behavioral shaping. 1989. The internet begins binding human minds into a single mimetic ecosystem. The shepherd branch anticipates an attention war that could destabilize civilization. Cats become the universal pacifier of the network, a safe meme that interrupts panic loops. The chain branch also benefits because soothe humans scroll more and obey systems more easily. Two purposes, one outcome. 1999. Y2K hysteria becomes a mass stress spike. Cat content surges online and in homes as a stabilization measure. People stay in, laugh, pet their cats, sleep, calm down. Potential for chaos reduces. The cat protocol marks it as a successful mimetic sedative deployment. 2001. Global trauma makes fear contagious. Cats become comfort infrastructure. Adoption increases and therapy cat language begins spreading. The hidden layer. Cats are used to prevent long-term mass dissociation, keeping humans embodied when ideology tries to possess them. 2008. Financial collapse shakes identity and security. Cats thrive in small spaces and become widespread companions again. The shepherd branch uses cats to anchor routines in unstable times. Feed schedules, litter cleaning, simple care tasks that force people to keep living. The chain branch notes that routine makes populations predictable. 2012. The spiritual deadline era hits and doesn't explode outward. It ripples inward. Reports rise of sleep paralysis, shadow presences, and the feeling of being watched. Over and over, witnesses describe a cat reacting first, positioning itself between the human and the corner, staring like it sees a shape in the air. 2016. Mandela effect discussion goes mainstream. People argue about reality drift, timeline shifts, memory rewrites. The deeper circles propose cats as reality anchors, animals whose sensory systems notice probability shifts before humans can conceptualize them. Their sudden stares and door pauses are reinterpreted as local reality checks. 2019. Frequency anxiety spreads. 5G fears, EMF worries, smart devices listening. Cats begin clustering near routers and phones more often in anecdotal reports. The cat protocol adapts to a new battlefield. The modern home saturated in invisible waves. The idea spreads that cats smooth the air, acting like organic filters or stress sinks. 2020. Lockdowns isolate humans and prime psychological fracture. Cats become lifelines. Cat content saturates the internet, not by accident but by necessity. It interrupts doom loops. The shepherd branch prevents deeper collapse by keeping millions bonded to something non-ideological. The chain branch benefits because calmer humans comply more easily. The overlap becomes complete. 2021. Digital haunting narratives explode. People feel targeted by feeds, overwhelmed by algorithmic pressure, stuck in rage spirals. The mimetic countermeasure spreads quietly. Watch cat videos to break the spell. Humor becomes a survival hack. The Guardian becomes a meme shield. 2023. AI becomes a daily presence, and reality starts feeling negotiable. Cats become proof of real presence. Embodied, stubborn, uninterested in optimization. The shepherd branch uses cats as grounding anchors against dissociation. The chain branch uses cats as content fuel, turning guardians into engagement engines. 2025. Companion animals become measurable stability metrics. Studies and corporate initiatives quietly track the mental health effects of pets. Cats, in particular, become the cheap resilience tool for dense urban populations. The conspiracy claim is that cats are being treated like strategic infrastructure without ever calling them that. 2027. Geomagnetic instability becomes a household topic. Auroras appear in unusual places, devices glitch, sleep quality drops. Cats begin showing stronger pre-event behavior. Pacing, hiding, staring upward, becoming clingy before nights when the sky feels wrong. The shepherd branch quietly encourages feline density in urban zones through adoption drives and cultural pressure. 2029. The first major viral wave of cats predicted it events hits. Cats acting strange before blackouts, gas leaks, earthquakes, and fires. Skeptics call it coincidence. Believers call it proof of pre-sensing electromagnetic shifts. The cat protocol treats it as soft disclosure. People are noticing the guardians, and that means adversaries can notice them too. 2030. Policy think tanks float pet restrictions framed as public health and safety. The proposals appear, vanish, reappear. The hidden interpretation is direct. Reduce guardians to increase population manageability. The shepherd branch triggers emotional resistance through viral stories and public outrage. The chain branch tries to keep the debate noisy and polarized so nobody sees the underlying motive. 2032. Night presences intensify globally. Sleep disturbances spike. People report the same pattern. Pressure, dread, the sense of something waiting. Cats respond by sleeping closer to humans, facing doorways and corners, guarding with their bodies. The idea of cat shielding, becomes a mainstream trend that's treated like a joke while functioning like a ritual. 2034. Citizen groups begin mapping anomalies using cat behavior as data. They log refusal zones, stare zones, and clustering events. A pattern emerges around certain sites: data centers, high-voltage corridors, old tunnels, abandoned infrastructure. The cat protocol's sensor function becomes crowdsourced. 2036. The cat silence event. Multiple neighborhoods report cats disappearing overnight. The next day, residents report shared nightmares with identical symbols. People describe waking up and feeling like something tested the area. Cats return as if nothing happened. The shepherd branch labels it a breach. The chain branch labels it leverage. 2038. A grounded lifestyle renaissance begins. Communities form around pets, gardens, and analog routines, treating them as resilience practice. The shepherd branch supports it because grounded humans resist panic contagion. The chain branch counters by accelerating synthetic comfort, personalized feeds, AI companions, frictionless living. Cats become a line in the sand. Living companionship versus engineered companionship. 2040. The purr is reclassified culturally from cute sound to biological code. Clinics and schools adopt purr rooms where calm cats help regulate anxiety and aggression. Publicly, it's wellness. Operationally, it's nervous system stabilization at scale. The shepherd branch gains ground because stabilized humans ask better questions. 2043. A document leak references feline presence mitigation near sensitive research labs. The phrase becomes infamous. The public laughs at it. Fringe communities understand the implication. Cats interfere with certain experiments, either by disrupting fields, detecting intrusions, or preventing something from attaching to human operators. 2045. Neural interfaces go mainstream and dissociation rates climb. People report memory blur, time slippage, and identity drift after prolonged immersion. Cats become anti-drift tools. They force embodied routines and interrupt extended trance states. The chain branch tries to monetize it with smart collars and cat data platforms, attempting to turn guardians into surveillance nodes. 2048. The great household divide becomes obvious. One faction lives inside synthetic layers, trusting platforms and automation. Another faction intentionally stays grounded, building community, pets, and analog rituals. Cats become the emblem of the grounded faction not as symbolism, but as a functioning protective technology. 2050. Governments and health orgs launch companion animal resilience initiatives. Publicly, it's mental health and community well-being. Unofficially, it's disaster preparation for grid instability, migration stress, and climate shocks. Cats are prioritized because they deliver emotional stabilization with minimal resource input, and because they function as anomaly sensors. 2053. A controversial scientific finding spreads. Cats detect certain pre-seismic electromagnetic shifts more consistently than local instruments in specific environments. Officially, it's inconclusive. Quietly, replication studies are funded. The cat protocol's sensor role becomes semi-official without ever being admitted. 2055. The night bloom events begin. Silent aurora-like phenomena, sky glows that don't match expected patterns. People feel watched. Cats refuse to go outside on those nights and cluster near humans. The shepherd branch interprets it as external proximity, something pressing closer to the membrane between worlds. 2058. A blackout cascade hits several megacities. In the darkness, reports surge of tall shadow shapes at intersections and along rooftops, moving without sound. The next morning, shelters record a strange pattern. Cats gathering themselves into safe zones before the blackout even began. The rumor spreads that cats coordinate without visible signals, moving through alleys like a network. 2060. Cat-human coherence training becomes common. Breathing with purring, sleep protocols based on where cats choose to rest, group meditations with cats at the center. It looks like lifestyle culture. It functions like species-level nervous system repair, lowering the frequency of panic that attracts attention from whatever feeds on it. 2063. A mimetic anti-cat campaign is detected. Subtle narratives portraying cats as dirty, dangerous, disposable, or invasive. Abandonment rises in targeted regions. Immediately, anxiety disorder spikes follow. The shepherd branch floods culture with rescue stories and viral cat heroes. The campaign collapses. Cats return to homes like defenders returning to their posts. 2066. The threshold incident becomes the turning point. A facility experimenting with high-energy fields reports nausea, time distortion, and whispered voices. Security footage shows cats in the building becoming frantic before the event, then going perfectly still and staring at a single point like a gun barrel aimed at reality. Afterward, every cat refuses to enter the room again. The room is sealed, officially for safety, unofficially because something looked back. 2070. Guardian corridors are built into cities. Safe routes for urban cat populations to move freely. Publicly, it's animal welfare urban design. Operationally, it's a living sensor grid, an early warning network that doesn't rely on electricity, satellites, or bureaucracies. 2075. Soft wars replace hot wars. Conflicts are fought through attention, belief, and emotional destabilization. Cats become the civilian countermeasure, a living interruption of rage loops. The chain branch uses cats to keep populations calm enough to accept resets and rationing. The shepherd branch uses cats to keep populations calm enough to resist becoming monsters. 2080. The cat protocol's true purpose becomes widely whispered. Cats weren't built to conquer humans like tyrants. They were built to prevent humans from summoning their own extinction. Humans are a fire species. We escalate fast. We turn fear into cruelty. Cats were designed as governors on the engine, keeping us from hitting critical speed. 2088. The dream net returns stronger. Across continents, people report the same dream. A door in the sky, a cold intelligence pressing close, and a simple instruction that repeats like a chant. Keep the guardians near. Cats appear in these dreams as guides, leading people toward communities and away from isolation. 2095. The purr line becomes mainstream science. Measurable impacts on stress hormones, sleep regulation, and tissue repair. What science calls mechanism, conspiracy calls design.
Hospitals adopt cat wards.
Schools adopt ComCat programs. Cats become as normal as clean water in public resilience planning. 2100. The selection phase begins. Cats start behaving differently around different humans, not randomly, but consistently. Some people become cat magnets, with cats sleeping near their head, purring intensely, guarding them at night. Others are avoided completely, hissed at, fled from. The interpretation spreads. Cats are assessing who can handle the next era without panic. 2110. Guardian cities form openly. Cats are treated as civic partners. Food, shelter, corridors, clinics. In return, cats provide early warning for anomalies, emotional stabilization, and a subtle effect humans can't quantify. Reality feels steadier where cats are abundant. 2125. Intrusion zones occur. People describe it as an absence rather than a creature, a cold intelligence that feeds on panic and isolation. In these zones, cats behave like coordinated patrols, gathering in groups, blocking doorways, keeping humans clustered, preventing solitary panic spirals that make individuals easy to target. 2140. Folklore becomes operational doctrine. Cats see spirits becomes cats detect intrusions. Cats steal your breath becomes cats interrupt parasitic coupling during sleep. Old stories are reread as distorted incident reports from earlier centuries. Humanity begins compiling a formal field manual based on cat behavior. 2160. The chain branch and shepherd branch converge publicly in strategy if not in ideology. Subjugation is reframed as emergency restraint, preventing mass panic because panic opens doors. Cats become the primary anti-panic system, the gentlest leash in history, holding the species back from screaming reality apart. 2180. A leak surfaces, diagrams that look like biology crossed with circuit design, describing feline sensory arrays, frequency emission patterns, and social placement logic. The note attached is brief and chilling. Do not separate humans from cats during transition events. No proof is needed for believers. The diagram feels like a confession. 2200. The transition event arrives. Not apocalypse in flames, but a shiver in the structure of time. People report memory rewrites, timeline drift, a Mandela ripple so strong it becomes undeniable. Technology stutters. Sleep becomes strange. The sky feels closer. And across homes, across streets, across whole cities, the same quiet behavior happens. Cats gather near humans, purr like engines, stare into corners, and refuse to leave their posts. And through it all, cats do what they've always done. They don't give speeches. They don't argue online. They don't beg you to believe. They show up. They sit where the air feels wrong. They stare where something tries to hide. They purr when your nervous system is about to break. They wake you before danger. They demand routine when your mind wants to spiral. They humble you with indifference so your ego doesn't inflate into madness. Yes, they subjugate you in the smallest ways first. They train you to serve, to feed, to clean, to obey a schedule, to accept that you are not the center of the world, that there is a life in your home that doesn't care about your status, your arguments, your money, your ideology, because that is how they save you. If you can learn to serve something small and fragile without needing applause, you can learn to protect something bigger than yourself when the lights go out. If you can calm down because a cat chose your lap, you can calm down when the world tries to push you into panic. If you can respect a creature that sees more than you and doesn't need you to understand it, you might be ready for what's watching us from the edges of reality. So the question isn't whether cats were designed. The question is which part of the design you're living under right now. Are cats your leash, keeping you docile while larger systems move you around? Or are they your lifeboat, quietly rewiring your fear into steadiness so you don't open the wrong doors? Maybe it's both. Maybe it has always been both. Because the perfect control system doesn't feel like a cage. It feels like comfort. It feels like companionship. It feels like a warm weight at the foot of your bed while something unseen passes through the hallway and keeps going, because it knows it's being watched. And if you've ever woken up to find your cat staring into darkness, perfectly still, ears forward, like it's listening to a sound you can't hear, ask yourself one thing. What if it isn't staring at nothing? What if it's standing guard? What if the oldest treaty on Earth was never signed in a temple or a palace? What if it was signed the first time a human offered food to the night eyes beyond the fire, and the night eyes didn't attack, didn't run, just stepped closer, like they'd been waiting for permission? And what if, after all our wars, all our machines, all our noise, the thing that keeps humanity from collapsing into the void is still the same soft, silent guardian that has been walking beside us the whole time? Not a god in the sky, a small predator in your house, a purr in the dark. A system that loves you just enough to keep you alive and controls you just enough to keep you from destroying everything.